All right, we have Shaylee Hebb and Jansen Kimball showing us our outfield drills. This is the daily progression our outfielders go through. So right now we're working on fielding on the run, and I say on the run, but really it's just moving through the ball in a fashion that we're able to throw and throw to bases and try to throw runners out. We're not squaring up on it. We don't really work on that. Hopefully, our outfielders at our level can do that. At a youth level, if you go over your infield fundamentals, you should be able to get away with using those to square up. So we're in a 90-degree angles with our knees and our legs, and we're working on sweeping through the ball, getting our face down with the ball, with the glove. We see the ball into the glove, and we're fielding on our glove side on this one. Anymore, I teach both, inside and outside. It doesn't matter to me which one they're doing, whatever feels comfortable. I prefer to field it on my glove side foot step. That way it works me into a crow hop smoother, a pro step smoother. That's just my personal preference. There are some girls that'll switch. And you can switch your feet and do that same drill on your knees as well. So now we go into a lunge position, and we're in a stationary position. We're a little bit far away from each other. We should probably be about 5 yards instead of 10. I'm doing this. Now we're going to switch. We're going to step into it, sweeping, making sure we're getting down with the ball, making sure our footwork's good. You can see that Jansen on the last one did her choppy steps beforehand and came through it, which is another progression of it. You can really break this down, go slowly, and start developing outfielders at a youth level. It's very difficult because you can't get people to buy into that, but if you can, then it's really a really special thing. In that case, my suggestion would be to develop both infielders and outfielders, because you really don't know what they're going to develop into later on, and you don't know how their teams are going to be. Here you see that we're doing the inside the legs. We're going off of an arm side on Jansen, and she switched on that one. She went glove side on that. And there's an arm side one. This is also the same footwork, fielding a ball on the run in the infield as well. So if you have to make a play and be athletic, this is also the same, very, very similar footwork. So that leads you to developing these tools for everybody. The next step is to come up and go into your throw position. So huge for us is our transition from fielding to throwing. That's really where a lot of our problems occur if we field it. So fielding the ground ball is step one, and a big thing for us is to not field on the run. We can't be full sprint fielding a ground ball trying to throw somebody out. We got to collect ourselves, field it, make sure we have the ball first, that old adage, and then get into throw position. So we're working on a crow hop. With a crow hop, it's just a skip with your arm side leg first. You see Shaylee hit that right there. Big high leg, high knee, and then into the crow hop. So once they come up into the air, you're going to turn and try to get to throw position. And it's a high momentum move. If you're doing it correctly, you will there's no stopping you from going forward. You can fall on your face, you can roll, you can keep taking steps forward, but it's going to happen. So right now, your outfielders, your infielders, your players, whoever's doing this drill should be focused on getting to throw position as seamlessly as possible, making sure their footwork and their hands are doing the proper dance move, the proper timing mechanism that'll ensure that they are able to throw the ball without having to take 2 or 3 more steps and giving the runner 2 or 3 more steps. There's also a pro step. Jansen just did it. It's just a exaggerated heel click. That's all it really is. It's a back step. It looks a lot like your infield footwork. So in that, it's all it is just getting your body momentum moving without doing the crow hop, without bringing that high leg over and this big jump action. A lot of girls are going to do this heel click a lot easier. You can see I'm now teaching the steps of the crow hop of how I was taught. We work on that high knee and then work on that high knee and that turn at the same time. So that high knee jump and then a high knee jump turn while you're going through and trying to get into throw position, trying to get squared up and making sure that your front side, your front shoulder, your front hip are aimed at your target. That's going to be paramount for your outfielders in being able to throw accurately and not having that ball tail or dive one way or the other. So huge thing for outfielders throwing wise is getting that front side turned and making sure that chest is facing us on their throw or facing the other way on the throw. So once we get out of our ground balls to each other straight on, we would do ground balls with a drop step. So the first step for us is to make sure that our girls are drop stepping properly. So we need to be low in position. Right now we're too tall, and we're standing tall in doing it. We need to start low, drop step low, get our hands out away from our body so we are able to run and move. You're not able to run as fast with that glove tucked. It's better than running with it sticking out and trying to catch a ball, but it's not better than pumping the arms like you would in normal running fashion. So the first thing you're going to do is drop step, make a turn, and then come back through the ball. It's a huge key to get around the ball, get behind it, and then come through it for an outfielder. speaking about just seeing ground balls as an outfielder, you have to almost pretend that ground balls in the infield will always get through. There is no infielders. So that way your angle, your attack angles, are to get behind the ball and not just to get behind your fielder, your second baseman, your shortstop, whoever's fielding the ground ball. If there's a ball in the gap, you got to beat it to the fence first and then come through it. Not necessarily get to the fence, but you got to get behind the ball. So your attack angle is always to get behind the ball first and then come through it if you can. Of course, there's always exceptions to the rule, because a sport is an exception to the rule in itself. But generally speaking, work on your drop steps as an outfielder, work on your attack angles as an outfielder, and make sure you're coming through the ball and your ground balls and going through the ball towards your targets. And the hardest one is third base. Everyone's like, oh, well, the throws to the plate are the most important, which I would agree. But those throws to third base, you have to exaggerate your attack angles, and that way you can come back on stuff. That the fly ball to right center, if you're playing center field, you have to get around that ball to make sure that you can throw it if there's a tag play from second to third, and make sure you can throw it to third properly, because if not, you're not going to be able to get your body turned, and you're going to be inaccurate throwing the ball. So all of these things, all these little tiny body mechanic movements are set up by your attack angles of your feet. And then off of that, everything builds. So the idea behind outfield being where we stick all of our bad players or whatever it's not true at all. So like right now, coaching high school softball, we're seeing a lot of teams lose their outfield and lose games because of their outfield. And we've been one of them at times, where our outfielders just aren't up to it because they're just not taught the little things, or they're taught that outfield is a slough. We'll just put out whoever out there, and that's just not the case at all. You can really separate yourself as a defender by being really good at what you're doing in the outfield. All right, we have now our drop steps and coming through the ball with fly balls. Again, it's very similar to your ground ball work. Hit your drop step first, then throw the ball up. You don't have to be very far away, but you're just trying to work through the ball and trying to work through your fly balls. So you always want to be about a step and a half to 2 steps behind the ball, where you think it's going to land. That way you can work through it and try to catch it on your left step. Again, if it switches and you catch on your right step, you're okay. But it's the same concept with your drop steps. Make sure you get behind the ball, come through it towards your target, and make an accurate, clean throw. Speaking of throws, we teach our outfielders to try to make a one hop to every base that we throw to. We try to throw through our relays. We don't really like the whole, if I catch it close enough to a bag, then we start yelling all the way. We want you to make a throw, and then we tell you where to go with the ball. A little harder in softball because of the size of the field, but generally speaking, that's what it is. Here's our first infield drill, really, too, because drop steps are key for infielders as well, for pop-ups and attacking what we call the Bermuda triangles, which would be behind third base, behind second base, behind first base, where 3 people will always converge at that point to try to catch that ball. Big communication problem there too. Like, all communication goes in those positions. That's why we call them the Bermuda Triangles of a softball or baseball field. But this is a drop step drill, so we're doing 45s. What we like to do off of these is we like to run 2 barrels. So we'll have one group going drop steps to the left. We'll have one group going drop steps to the right, glove side, arm side. And then we'll be doing, we call them Cuban drills. I'm not sure what they're exactly called. I stole them off Matt McDaniels. He had it on video number 2 of our coaching clinics. And to be honest, I thought that's what they were called. I haven't re-watched it to make sure, but I'm calling it that. And it's where we have our a player. We'll show it later too. We'll have a player up in front of us, and they sprint down. You roll a ground ball, and they chop their feet, which is a big problem for our high school girls lately. They don't chop their feet well. They don't slow down to field a ground ball. They go full bore, and they don't have to. This is a 45-degree drop step to the other side. Speaking of that drill with the Cuban drill, so we'll do our 45s, and then we'll go to a Cuban drill, and then they'll come back and get in line opposite, so they'll do the other side. And it's a big circuit, and it's a lot of running. It's great conditioning. So there are ways of conditioning your baseball and softball players without just running them to death. You don't have to run them to death. Base running stuff, ground ball agility work with agility ladders and moving left and right, baseline work that Mickey would have us do. You could do it with just tennis balls, field it and flip it, field it and flip it. You can do these 45-degree drop steps and Cuban sprints where they chop and stop, or chop and go through the ball. Those are all great conditioning tools to help without working just running or just poles or just laps, which is something that I've picked up off of wrestling and Coach Orr. Is we don't really condition there. We don't really do sprints. We do about 10 a day or 9 a day sometimes, and then it's time to just work. We condition through the sport. So that's kind of our goal as in our program as well. We condition through the sport. So I talked over these. These are 90-degree drop steps. They're just straight back. You were going shoulder, same side. And it's that line drive that's straight over your head. You turn and run, and then you check. So how we do our drop steps is we're wanting to turn, run 100%. And then when I throw, I'll yell ball. That's when they'll look up, and that's where they'll catch it. All of these are one-handed. We're not catching with 2 hands. I know that's what everyone's taught. That's what I was taught. But these are on the run. You need to be an athlete. Catch with one hand. What I really like to do is I like to have them take their glove off and use tennis balls. It softens their hands. They start not stabbing at the ball, because if they do that, then that ball starts bouncing out. So even your young ones can use these drills and go bare hand, go with a tennis ball and have it bounce and make it difficult. There's lots of ways to make it way harder. You can have them run, you can throw it farther. If you undercut them, they should be chopping their feet, coming back through it. And now you see that I'm talking about running with our arms, pumping, and not tucking our glove. So the worst way to run is have your arms sticking out. That's the worst way to run. Second is to tuck your arm. Run like you would, that the glove isn't even there. It also helps doing it barehanded. So this is directly from Mickey Tenney, Coach Tenney. These are straight across. I don't know where he got them. I know that I was doing them almost every day at Buchanan. So you face forward, you do your crossover step and your full sprint. This is a drill for that sinking line drive, that line drive that you misread. You're just trying to get over. You can do shoestrings, there's diving and all that stuff. It's just being athletic in general for this one. So we have the Cuban drill. We did this with Coach Tenney as well. It's straight on. It's that sinking line drive that's straight at you. The hardest ball to catch as an outfielder, that line drive that's right at you. And sometimes you misread it. You're full sprint, and then you throw it, and then you adjust. But you need to get your players going full sprint and then adjust off of the throw. Always easier to slow down than it is to go faster. At least that's what I always got yelled at. Here's Coach McDaniel's, Matt McDaniel's Cuban drill. I hope I'm using the right word. If not, that's what we call it at least. Their full sprint, chop their feet, come through it nice and easy. Get to a throw position. Work on that transition from fielding to not. You can bounce it. You can roll it. There's lots of different ways you can work on this drill. You can throw a line drive. You can roll it. These are all things that you can do off of this. This is the basic formula for our outfield stuff. There's a lot more stuff to work on there. Sliding, diving, balls off the wall, communication, not only calling people off and priority, but putting people in the right place, working with a fence. There's a lot of different communication that the outfielders have to work on. Hitting relays, when to throw it full bore, where positioning. There's so much stuff to work with outfielders that I think is overlooked. We just kind of put an athlete out there at a higher level and hope they do what they can out there. But if you have somebody that really buys into the outfield, it's sometimes harder than your infield positions. There's more ground, there's less people. So don't ever overlook outfield. If you're a player or have a son or daughter who is in the outfield at a young age, I know it's easy to buy into the idea that, oh my gosh, my kid is getting mistreated, and buy into it. Buy into being an outfielder. There's a lot of great players that play outfield, and there's a lot of great hitters that play outfielders. So please don't ever overlook it. If you have any other questions, let us know. This is the basic thing, the basic drills, and the simple progression that our outfielders do every day with our progression, and almost every day with our drill work. So I hope it gave you a basis to use and work on, and I hope it helps. Thanks.